Hi, third graders, this is Mrs. Burke. This is going to be part 2 of our classifying triangles video. So if you watched the first video about classifying triangles, we learned that you can name a triangle based on the measure of its sides. And our 3 options were equilateral triangles, which have all sides the same length, or an isosceles triangle, which has 2 sides that measure the same, and finally a scalene triangle, which does not have any sides that have the same measure. Another way you can measure, you can classify a triangle is based on the measure of its angles. So now we're going to be looking at the inside of a triangle. So we can name a triangle based on its angles as a right triangle, an obtuse triangle, or an acute triangle. And these words should be very familiar to you because you've looked at angles before and you've decided, are they smaller than 90? Are they exactly 90? Or are they obtuse, which would be greater than 90? So you're going to take that information to help you give these triangles another name. Okay, so again, triangles can be named based on their sides, which we already did. And today we're going to look at their angles. So let's look at our first option, a right triangle. You'll notice that a right triangle has exactly one angle that measures 90 degrees. So I always like to look for that angle first. That's the first question I ask myself when I look at a triangle. Do I see any right angles? If I see one, right away I give it the name a right triangle, okay? And this would be an example right here of a right triangle. This measures 90 degrees. You see that little box to give us our clue. Now, sometimes that 90-degree angle can be stretched and it's now greater than 90 degrees. When that happens, that angle becomes called obtuse. So if you have one angle out of a triangle, remember triangles have 3 angles, but if just one of them is greater than 90 degrees, then that triangle can be called an obtuse triangle. It only has to have one angle that's greater than 90 degrees or greater than a right angle, and then we can call it obtuse. Now, if you've looked for a right angle and there isn't one, and then you looked for one obtuse angle and you didn't find one, you're going to notice that all 3 angles are acute. They're all smaller than 90. So when that happens, you're going to name it an acute triangle. That means all of the angles have a measure that is smaller than 90 degrees or smaller than a right angle. So let's take a look at some examples and see if we can name or classify these triangles. So let's look at this first one. And if you find yourself looking at a triangle that doesn't have these angles labeled, you can do that yourself with a pencil. Just draw it in. So here I have this little boxed angle, then I have a small acute angle and another acute angle. Right away, my eye is drawn to this boxed angle because that tells me this is a right angle. And I know that if it has one right angle, I'm going to name it a right triangle. Okay? Next, when I look at this triangle, first I look, do I see any right angles? No. Do I notice any of the angles are stretched larger than a 90-degree angle? No. All of these are pinched in. They're smaller than 90 degrees, and an angle that's smaller than 90 is acute. So when I have all acute angles, I'm going to name my triangle an acute triangle. Here's this one. Well, right away, I don't see a right triangle, but I see this angle here is really stretched out. That must be much bigger than 90 degrees. So since I have one angle, even though this is acute and this is acute, it has that one angle that's greater than 90. So I can call this obtuse because it just takes one to become an obtuse angle. Okay, what would you name this one and why? I hope I heard you say acute. Yes, it is very cute, but it is called an acute triangle. I have 3 angles. They're all smaller than a 90-degree angle, so it's an acute triangle. How about here? Where does your eye go straight to? I don't see a right angle, but I do see this stretched out angle, even if it was this way. I see that stretched angle. It has 2 acute angles, but it has 1 obtuse. If it has an obtuse angle, I'm naming it an obtuse triangle. And finally, this one here. Your eye should go straight to it. I have a right angle here, which is 90 degrees. And if I have 1 right angle, then I am called a right triangle. Okay? So just a review. Triangles can be named based on their sides and their angles. If we want to name them based on their angles, we can name them either right, obtuse, or acute. A right angle has exactly 1 angle that measures 90 degrees. An obtuse triangle has 1 angle that measures greater than 90 degrees. And finally, an acute triangle is a triangle that has all angles being acute or less than 90. Okay? So pay attention, look for those angles when you're doing your work today, and best of luck. Have a great day, Stuart.